MMA Oddsbreaker, Frank Trigg, of course, as Daniel Cormier get ready to fight with the H-Bomb, Dan Henderson, coming up on UFC 173, May 24th, MGM Garden Arena, pay-per-view, blah, 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 blah. So, Dan's coming up from 185. You're coming down from heavyweight. You're meeting at 205. Everyone's touting you as the guy to beat John Jones. You've got the skill. You got the ability. But first, you got that big-ass right hand and the two-time Olympian standing in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's given, Frank. You know, like, I mean, when you think about who I'm fighting, he's beat everybody. The guy's beat Fedor. He's beat Shogun. He's beat everybody. You know, and he's done things in the sport that most people can only imagine and dream of. So, yeah, he's a very, very dangerous guy, a tough opponent. Somebody I've looked up to and somebody I'm excited to compete against.
Is that hard, or is it enduring, or is it, you know, what happens when you're looking at somebody like, hey, this is a guy that one of the reasons why I got into this sport is because of this guy. Now I got to battle up against him. Like, well, how does it make you feel from an emotional standpoint?
I mean, it feels pretty good because now it's like when I started, Frank, like when I was wrestling as a kid, I was projected as a Greco guy because I wrestled on the cadet Greco team and everything. That was in the mid-'90s. Dan was already on the Olympic team, so I kind of looked up to Dan Henderson in that way. So it started way before even mixed martial arts. With that being said, once I wrestled Melvin Douglas, who's a guy that I looked up to so much from when I was in as a kid, I got to go to one of his seminars. We wrestled in the U.S. National Semifinals one year, and I pinned him and didn't feel bad about it at all. So look up to a guy or not. When it's time to compete against them, you have to be at 100%. You can't be in awe of these guys, or they're going to beat you. You know, I've got a goal, and my goal is to be the UFC champion. I can't let any of that deter me. Doesn't matter how much I like Dan Henderson.
Now, Chris Weidman, when he was getting ready for Anderson Silva, he said, you know, I started training for Anderson Silva 2 years before I ever met him. When I first started the sport, I knew that's the guy I was going to have to beat. And he did it, and now he's done it twice. When you look at John Jones, did you start training for John Jones long before this whole mess came about? And is the skills and the mindset you having to use to get ready for John, is that gonna be the same skills and mindset you have to use against Dan?
Well, yes, exactly, because you have to train for the best guy. I think that's what Chris Weidman was trying to state, was that Anderson was number one. So he had to prepare for number one every day, and that takes care of everybody else along the line. When I was at heavyweight and Brock Lesnar was the champion, I was training for Brock Lesnar. Then when I came to 205, or when I knew I was going to come to 205, I knew I wanted to beat John Jones. So you have to attain the skills to beat a guy like that. So I've prepared for the best guy in the weight division for a really long time, and Dan Henderson has been my short-term goal for the last 6 weeks. I go conquer that goal next week, and I start to move back towards my ultimate goal of being a UFC champ.
So what skill set that you had to learn to get ready to beat the best guy in the weight class in John Jones are you going to use to beat Dan Henderson? There's different styles, different mannerisms, but it's still a physical competition. There's some crossover between these two guys. What's the skill set you got to use for Dan that you're going to also use when you beat John?
Well, one thing you could use on both of them is that closing the distance. Dan Henderson throws that H-bomb, but he needs space in order to throw it and get enough power on it to knock someone out. So closing the distance on him. That's also something I'm going to have to do in the Jones fight. I'm going to have to secure takedowns against Dan Henderson. I'm going to have to also secure takedowns in the Jones fight. So there are many parallels in these two training camps as I move forward into my career. More than people would anticipate, being that these guys are such different fighters, height difference, style difference. But there are a lot of similarities in terms of what I'm going to have to do in order to compete against both of them. Now, one thing you really have to look at, Frank, and that's most of the time I have to go take almost anybody down. I have to go and pressure anybody. So I guess it's more along the lines of what I have to be good at in myself that will allow me to compete with everyone.
You know, and that's the difference, though, between you and these other guys. You know, you're only 14-0. Now you're like, only 14-0. Well, everybody that's at kids love them.
Yeah, they're crazy. They always choose the worst. They always choose the worst time too to yell and scream.
Kids have that knack for knowing when mom or dad is busy. It's time to act up. They have that knack.
How do they figure that out though? Like, at what point do kids figure out that, okay, mom's busy, I'm gonna press mom, or dad? I swear, my kids have been upstairs for the last hour watching Brother Bear. Their mom started making dinner, and they immediately came downstairs.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Kids got a knack.
It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing.
Love kids, man. It's funny too because that's one of the things I like doing interviews with you is because I can guarantee at some point one of your kids is gonna poke their head in just to see themselves on camera.
Yeah, they'll go nuts. They'll go nuts. They'll go nuts.
Now, your ability to pay attention and understand that what you're learning for one fight translates into another fight is exceptional because most athletes know this is the guy I have in front of me. That's all I'm thinking about. This is the guy I have in front of me. That's all I'm thinking about. It's like no, then why are you in the sport? You're in the sport to be the best. To be the best, you got to beat the best guy. Who's the best guy at your weight class? That's who you have to beat. So figure it out. You figured out that I have to close the distance. I've got to keep them from hitting me by staying in tight. I have to secure takedowns on both these guys. So it makes no difference who the height, who the range, who the reach is because an inside game, the guy could be 4'2", or he could be 7'2". It's still an inside game.
Exactly.
Who do you have in your training camp that's going to help you mimic that? Because like most of the guys that you train with now are bigger, wider, stronger, taller, thicker, heavier than either one of those two guys. You know, specifically talking about Henderson now. Who are you training with right now to get you ready for Henderson?
Well, it's kind of it's a variation, okay? So I'll use a guy named Davin Clark, who's a really good boxer. He's fast. He's probably faster than Dan Henderson, but he's not as hard to take down as Dan Henderson's going to be to take down. So after I go around with him, I'll go around with this kid named Ernesto Ancona. He's a really good wrestler, Division I wrestler, and he throws a right hand like Dan Henderson. But he's not as good a boxer, and he's not as fast. So he doesn't really play the part. I don't have one guy that actually can play the complete role of who I need in order to prepare for Dan Henderson. I've got to mix and match all of my partners to get the complete guy that I need. Well, Ernesto's harder to take down, but he's not as fast. He doesn't box as well. Well, Davin's a little too easy to take down. Dan's going to be harder than that. And then I brought in a guy named Chris Honeycutt, who was an NCAA All-American that trains down in Fresno. He came for a couple days, too, because you imagine he's going to be a little tougher to take down, too. And when I get on point, now the takedowns aren't that hard on anybody. That means I'm ready to fight.
Well, also, too, you know, there's all sorts of different ways you can change it up. Right now, round for round, you can go start going minute for minute. So you're in the middle of, this guy's easy to take down, but I'm getting hit by him. Now this guy is hard to take down, but I'm hitting him. So it's like this whole game gets processed out.
Yeah, it's
as long as you have the guys in the room. Are these guys showing up every day? And do you have to pay them to show up every day, or they show up every day because they're part of the camp?
They're my teammates. They're part of my team, so they come and they're prepared for themselves. Like, I watch guys. There's a guy named Dwight. He came here from New York City, and he's been training with me, and he's been training with Kane and everybody else. Kane's been out for a while, but before he would train with us, he's only about 185 pounds, and we beat him up, Frank. But new guys come into the gym, and they go with Dwight, and Dwight just kind of mows right through them. So these guys understand that by going with me or going with Luke Rockhold on a daily basis, when they get somebody from the outside, they're like, wait a minute, this is fighting. Because it's not, also we got a big heavyweight named Justin Willis. He's big. He's like 6'2", he's 275 pounds, athletic. He was a fullback in college. Him and I go, and he'll go 2 rounds, and he's exhausted. He's like, why am I so tired? But he goes with another big guy. He's like, I don't feel tired. I can control him in every area of the fight. And I think that these guys understand that they are learning at a level that they won't get anywhere else by being in the cage with us. So they're there every day. They're there almost every day.
When, say you beat Henderson, next fight up is John Jones. Mm-hmm. Are you going to bring some extra guys in and pay them to come in and be like, look, you got to be here every day because I'm paying you to be here, so that there's never that, oh, I'm sore, or my back hurts, my neck hurts.
Yeah.
Like, look, dude, I'm paying you to be here. You got to show up.
I would pay guys to prepare me for the title fight. You know, mm-hmm. I really do take my training camps and I map them out over the course of a 6, 8, 12 week, whatever the camp is going to be. If I needed to bring guys out and spend some money, that's fine because, you know, like Tyson, I'll fly him out to Vegas because he makes food for me. I need my guys that help me make weight. I'll fly him out. It's not. You have to spend money in order to ensure that everything is in order when you get into the octagon. And I don't mind doing that. Now, if I was paying guys, then yes, it would be on them to be there every single day. And sometimes I do pay for guys to come to practice if they don't have money for gas. You know how it is at the lowest levels of mixed martial arts. These guys don't have any money. So I try to pay them for gas, and then just on Monday, I took all of my training partners out to lunch. I try to make sure that they know that I appreciate the things that they do. But they're giving up their bodies for me because, you know, most of the time those guys can't completely compete with you at the level that they need you to. For Jones, if I get through Henderson, I honestly think I've got the perfect guy in Luke Rockhold. I mean, they're both tall. Luke can fight. Luke can be very creative in his striking. So I'm not sure if I'll need to bring in extra people. I think I have a pretty good one in Rockhold.
Yeah, Rockhold's pretty decent. He's definitely a decent cat. He spends a lot of time down in when he's in Vegas, Extreme Couture, training with my Muay Thai coach and Tim Lane, and Tim can't say enough about him, especially as a big, strong left-hander.
He's a big, strong kid.
Incredible to watch that kid throw mitts.
And you watch John, and he fights a lot from the southpaw position because he wants to wrestle. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing that you watch on these guys. I know that when I'm fighting a wrestler and he changes to his right leg in front, dude wants to try to shoot.
Yeah.
Because that's how most wrestlers wrestle growing up. Right leg in front, they try to shoot. So John does fight southpaw a lot because he's trying to get his leg shots off.
Yeah, he's trying to get inside. And that's when I was fighting Hughes, when he was standing with left leg in front, he was going to punch me. When he stood with his right leg in front, he's going to shoot. That's just how you know.
Exactly. It's like you gotta pick up on things like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, DC, thanks for coming on here. I appreciate it. I know it's tough to get a hold of you because both of us are so busy with our family schedule. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate you spending a couple minutes here on MMA Oddsbreaker. Good luck, and I'll definitely see you when you come in town on May 24th to fight Dan Henderson.
Thanks, Trigg, my man.
See you, bud.
Trigg. Nice seeing you, brother. Bye-bye.
You too.